Okay, so welcome to the special meeting of the EDC on June 10th. It's 6:04, and we're starting without a quorum for the record. Here is the, but we are hoping to have one by the time we vote. Here are the, I'm going to put the agenda up. And I'm going to share with you. So here's the agenda. We call to order. Are there any additions? Well, so additions or deletions to the agenda. We'll have citizen comments if there are any. We have two purposes tonight: review the trash can designs and then discuss additional funding to complete several of the small village rejuvenation projects, which may or may not include additional funding for the trash cans, but some other things as well. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Are there any citizen comments? Good, hearing none. All right, what I'd like to do, just to lay out the sequence, is just, I don't know that it's necessary, but just remind people briefly of the history and go through an explanation of the basic facts that we've collected, and then have a discussion about the trash can designs, and then have EDC members, assuming we have a quorum, have EDC members vote on the design that we want. As well as if we vote for spending more than 16,000, we would be voting also to request additional funding. And then we'll go to the second part of the discussion, which is some additional items to be funded that are all fitting into the same physical rejuvenation, basically completing projects that we had started. So, and Joe and Beth, I'm going to share these PowerPoint slides, but will you jump in? I'm just trying to lay out the basic facts. And what I think we should do is just lay them out without discussion. And then Joe and Beth, you can take over and say, and lead the discussion, and we can have a debate or whatever we want to do. But I just want to get a set of basic facts out there because there's a lot of moving parts. Is that all right with everybody?
I think you're doing fine, John.
All right. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is start with a map that Beth made. These are the 13 locations for the trash cans, starting on the west. This is the west end of the green, two in the middle of the green, one at the east end of the green, and one at the library, one on the Central Street side of Bentley's, of Dr. Coburn's, one by, what is that, Beth, Eyes on Elm?
The bank.
The bank, TD Bank, and one by the Butcher, or Gillingham's Butcher, I think. One by the Welcome Center, one by Mountain Creamery, one by the post office, and there's actually a rogue can in front of Unicorn. Quite sure how that got there. There's half of a station there. One by where Trattoria Pie was, and one by Treeboo Park. And each of those locations is two cans, recycling and trash. So there are 26 cans in total. Each can is 36 gallons. And so we've got 936 gallons of capacity split evenly between trash and recycling. That's going to be important later when we talk about the trash cans, because the cans we have aren't all the same size. Okay? There are 4 designs and 5 different cans that are being proposed. The fluted single can, meaning it's 36 gallons, $775. Very, very similar one from Victor Stanley. Ray will describe, this one is very similar to this, but it's off the ground and it's made of thicker steel. It's basically a stronger version of one, so it's 1A. This is a double 2 25-gallon containers. The third one is Urban Renaissance. This looks like one, but it's actually 2 22.5-gallon containers inside one larger thing. We're getting this for Teagle's Landing because it's compact. And then the last one is the Victor Stanley, the fluted design again, but you've got 2 in one, and it takes up less space than 2 of the singles because the top round things are all within one enclosure. And you've got a price per gallon here. I'm sorry.
This is Jeffrey. Can you join the EDC meeting?
Oh,
thank you.
I'll mute Jeff. Okay. just continuing on, just so you know, we have 3 of these. They are, I think, not identical to these, but they're very, very similar. If we did go with this design or with this design, we could keep these, and that would reduce by 1 location the number of things we would have to buy if you all felt that they look, I mean, they're pretty hard to tell apart, except up close. Oh, we only have 3 of these. The other 23 cans are of the plastic looking crappy variety. Here's the last slide of piece of information before I turn it over to Joe and Beth. This is a financial analysis, and I'm just going to explain it because just to give everyone complete information. There's the 5 models, 1, 1A, 2, 3, and 4, the capacities and the number of gallons. And so the cost per gallon. If we pick 1 and 2, we can use the 3 cans we have. So we only need 11.5 locations. And both of those options give us 930 gallons, because they're both 36-gallon cans. We get 23 of them. We've got 26 36-gallon cans. We've got 100% of the current gallonage. The last option, the Victor Stanley, we also get 100% of the gallonage. For these other 2 that are smaller, if we only bought 13 of them, we'd get about 60 to 70% of the gallonage. The town is telling us currently, I mean, the village is telling us currently that they think they need all of the gallonage. The cost for the 13 locations is here, and the additional funds above the $16,000 that have already been allocated is here. So what that means is that if we were to pick number 1 and we wanted all 13 locations, or 11.5 locations, because we already have 1.5, we need to provide from the EDC another $4,700. If we wanted to do 1A, the slightly more expensive ones, we need $7,000. If we wanted to do the Victor Stanley doubles, we'd need an extra $10,000. For these here, we'd need an extra $8,000, and we'd actually be under by $2,000 for number 2. However, we don't get 100%. And to get to 100% of the gallonage, we'd have to increase the number of locations beyond 13. And then it would cost us an extra 6 or an extra 14 on top of this. So it gets a little complicated, but I'm just giving you the information so that you can see that if you choose 1, you know what the cost is, you know whether we fulfill the capacity that the village is asking for. And if we can't, you know how many, that we have to get more locations than the 13 and we have to spend more money. And that's it. So with that, I'll kind of turn it over to Joe and Beth, and let's have a discussion about which ones we want. Maybe I'll just leave these up for now.
Beth, you or me? I mean, I've got a question for John. My understanding is the purpose of this meeting is getting input from the community.
It is, and then correct.
So what the community has to decide, I think, is a design, a locations, and how many of those locations we have to fill, or they feel need to fill based on information that we provide them. But the final decision, as I understand it, is with the community. Is that correct? The input from the community?
The final decision is with the EDC. We can choose to take or ignore the input from the community, but but however, I would just say that we're not deciding on the location or the number of the locations. It's a good question. That the village is deciding that. We're sharing this the EDC. We don't run all this stuff. I mean, the village has decided on the locations. We're going to decide how many trash cans to buy and of what design.
Yeah.
And the village is then going to make the best use of those trash cans. And they've already told us that at least one village trustee has said, well, they hope we would allocate funds to buy enough cans for everything. If we don't, they will deal with that, and they'll figure out how to deal with it. They'll either have fewer locations or they'll decide. So our role here is limited to picking the design and picking the number, which is in effect picking how much money beyond the $16,000 it's already been approved by the select board. So we don't even have to go to the select board for the $16,000.
So would it be, I'll ask this question, will it be appropriate right now in order to simplify things and try to make, try to move this thing along? Would we first like to ask input on the design first?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the designs? Which one would you prefer?
Yeah.
And then we can go, then we can decide from there, or we can, based on that, on that analysis from the community, we can say, okay, if that's the design you want, this is,
Yeah.
then we have to decide how many and where we want to put it.
Yeah, and we might change our mind once we get to the how many. I agree with that. So let's go around. Sorry, let's Beth, and then let's just go around the room and just see what.
Sure.
Yeah.
If I could just
I think
add,
the first thing we should do is talk to the community and say,
well,
which design
I just want to add information. I don't,
Yeah, go ahead,
then
Beth.
we can talk to the community. I guess my question or my thought is, I don't think that the original 3 are Victor Stanley because they are already rusty.
Yeah.
If you look at the top, I paid attention today, and the top is already peeling.
Yeah.
So just an FYI for that. Those, the 2 current cans, the green one is rusting.
Yeah.
The second is that I just wanted to say that the double black kind of square, no, the square thing, that is recycled plastic. So it isn't, it's just, that's what it is.
Yeah. That's great. Let's go around and who has comments about what they would like. Ray, I know maybe we start with you just a little bit because you had some, have some experience with this and have investigated some of the things.
Okay, I have looked at the specs for the streetscape, the Victor Stanley, and the Victor Stanley are made or thicker steel. As you can see by the slats going up and down, more slats, so they're heavier, and they have been around for a long time. The other comment I think is with the double, obviously you said it, John, it takes up less space. There's side openings, so the covers on the top cannot be picked up so somebody can throw trash in. You can get on a Victor Stanley double, and I believe on the single, you can get the lid on top that just says cans/bottles. So you can't put sandwiches, bags of sandwiches in, or other trash. It's a 6-inch circle instead of a 12-inch like the trash receptacle.
You're talking about for recycling.
For recycling, yes.
Okay.
And then I do have a question for Beth or Joe. On the trash can warehouse, and I just looked to double check, this can that you're showing doesn't come in recycle. They have a recycled can that's separate.
Which one are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about, Glenn?
The streetscape can, if I went on the site, the warehouse, trash can warehouse website just now to double check something.
Yeah.
And realized that this only comes in trash. If you want a recycle one, that's another $956 because it's a different can. Or you can get
956 in addition to 775.
yes, because
Oh.
that only comes as a trash can, according to the website. I did not speak to anybody. I just, for some reason, looked it up just now. And if you want a recycle container to go with that one, it's another $956. So it's basically $1,700 for the 2 units.
Okay. Thank you.
Todd, basically, you can see the comment in the chat if you're looking from Todd, the least expensive one, which matches the 2 that we sort of had. Is there an issue with that design? Because if not, then the other 2 more expensive ones are moot and we're done. I think Todd, an issue with these is that they are not, sorry, this one anyway is not as sturdy as 1A or 4, the ones made by Victor Stanley, and 4, and they're bigger than 4. So it depends on how much some people think this. Personally, I favor 4. I don't think it's a lot of money to spend, and I think it's the best solution. It's the strongest and it takes up the less space, but that's all I'll say for Devin.
I am standing in front of the Victor Stanley trash can in Hanover. If you guys would like to see what it looks like in, I don't know, real life.
Yes.
Sure. The Victor Stanley single or the double?
It's a single. It is a little Victor Stanley. It
Yeah,
has
it's
a little
not quite-
cover on top.
It's not exactly the same model as ours, but that's fine. They make
Yeah,
like
it's probably
40
an older one. It looks kind of,
Yeah,
it's actually
similar.
decent shape, but yeah, it's probably an older one.
And it's smaller, and they have an assortment of lids, and that's one of the lids available if you wanted to put that on a trash can.
Would the lid be an additional cost?
No. The lid and the decals come with the trash can.
I was in Hanover this afternoon and I saw those Victor Stanleys. They must have been around for a while because they look like they're in pretty bad shape. They were chipped and rusted, and the ones I saw, that was on
This
the
one was rusted too.
corner of the post office and across the street from Molly's. There was a couple, and I noted it because this is what we're talking about.
I'm just going to go around and point to people just to get your feedback. Stuart?
Well, I would probably go for the Victor Stanley double only because I like the look of the ones that we have, but I think we should have recycling and the space gets saved. What worries me is the so that would probably be my first choice. What worries me is the wear and tear in the winter, and so I sort of think I wonder about the plastic option, which is going to be more durable, although not as attractive. But I don't think the streetscape, I don't know, given the experience we've had with those that we have, that it seems like it'll wear out too fast. And the single, I worry about the space just because I don't know where we would, I think we should have recycling in each location. And so you're just having double cans everywhere.
Mary, Mary, can I just call on you, not as a select board member, but as a citizen, a non-EDC member? Do you have any point of view?
I don't, I like the Victor Stanley and I like the appearance of the second one, even if it were in black.
Sorry, this should be in black, by the way. They come in different colors. I just couldn't find it.
Okay. If we were to go for the double, would it, yes, that is the same weight as the metal in the one that's lighter here. I think that it's obvious that that's a better constructed vessel than the streetscape. It's obvious just by looking at it.
Yeah.
And also the fact that it's not resting flat on the snow and ice is another component that I'm impressed by.
Mhm.
And that would draw my attention. That would get my vote if I had one.
All right,
John,
Bill?
can I just add one thing to my comment? And that is that I think that we should get enough, whatever we decide, whatever you decide, you should get enough cans to fill we should do this. This should be a one-shot deal and we get enough cans to cover the required spots.
All right, I'm going to keep going. Thank you. I'm going to keep going and just ask all the non-EDC members, and then I'll come back to the EDC members, if that's all right. Bill, do you want, as a citizen as opposed to a town manager, do you have a point of view?
Yeah, I'm thinking like Mary, probably the double, the Victor Stanley. I think that's probably what I would choose.
Okay, Patrick, Nari, Antonia, sorry.
Yeah, is the is the double Victor Stanley one, is that accessible to the people who remove the trash? I mean,
Yes.
I can't see what the device is, how they access it. I guess from the side, there's a side gate.
There's on the Victor Stanley, there's two latches, one on either side for each side.
Okay.
So you just
Okay.
open up the side of it and slide the can out.
But Jill, you would
You're all very happy with the size of the container being what, 36 gallons? that's big enough, you think?
Well, the village needs to answer that, but Joe and Beth also, do you just want to comment briefly on that? You talked to Casella about collecting and all of these are okay, right?
What I can share with you on that issue is in past meetings, the gentleman who picks up for Casella in Woodstock is a Woodstock native, Ray Wardwell, and he was at the meeting and he had no problem with the side access to these cans. He had no problem with that at all.
Well, anyway, I like the idea of the double one, even though it's expensive. It will look a lot neater than having, having two separate ones. And it looks pretty decent. I'm concerned about the little feet that it stands on. Are those, are those able to withstand frost heaves and ice and snow and salt?
Those are just leveling feet. If you look underneath, there's a rim right under it where the arrow is. It
Yeah.
rests on.
Say it again, Ray, you were cut off. It rests on what?
All right. If you look underneath at the very base,
Mhm.
it looks like an indentation. It rests on that metal ring underneath it.
Okay.
Like under there, that,
Yeah.
All right. So that will keep the main body of the container off of the salt and snow somewhat.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
okay. Thank you. Bill Corson.
Yeah, I like the Victor Stanley double also. I'm concerned about the gates, but the Casella people say they can get them open, and I guess that's no problem. How often is this trash collected? Because I know, like down at East End Park and stuff, they have. I don't know if that's on our purview here, but trash cans get stuffed and overflown, and there's comments about people not emptying frequently enough. Is that a concern in the town, or how often do these get collected? No, it's not.
Bill or Jeff, do you?
Yeah, it's Bill Corson. Yeah, it's twice a week in the summer, and then they go back to a winter schedule sometime in the fall. So yeah, and they are collecting twice now at East End Park, so
Okay.
it should be resolved.
Yeah, that's one I like. Even if it's more expensive, I think it looks better. So.
Okay. Sally, you're a non-EDC member technically.
Yeah. The only comment I'll have is I like the double too. I think it's great, except I want to just make sure that it's not single-sided in the sense doesn't have a flat back, but it's actually an oval.
No, it is.
It is.
Because I can't tell from that photo.
Yeah. It is. I think the oval is about the same size as this, but it's
Right.
yeah.
Elongated, but I just make sure that it's not flat because you'd be putting it up against a building. It would not look good if it was freestanding.
Okay,
That's all I
thank you.
have.
Todd? Todd is typing. Again. Number 4 is affordable, and that is great. Do you want me to read to Todd, or should I? Yes, please. If number 4 is affordable, then that is great. If not, then number 2 satisfies the recycle element. It's also theoretically more durable. Bang for the buck goes to number 2. So if we hear about money and longevity, then that's a no-brainer. Number 4, if we want to spend money on this sort of thing and know it might rust, it's definitely more attractive and Woodstocky. If the public is not going to be up in arms on the cost, then we should, as EDC, consider what makes people have a wow factor. If we're doing that in the trash can universe, then number 4. Long story short, I would vote number 4 if I were able to vote. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Todd. I like this idea. I would like from now on to have all of you type your comments, and I will say everything. I like that approach. Who's left? Todd, Neil, you're a member of the community, even though you're also a member of the press. Do you have a comment? He probably wasn't planning to comment, so.
I have a comment.
Jeff, sorry, that's right. I forgot you and Beth also. Jeff, go ahead.
I like 1A, or I like both Victor Stanleys.
Okay.
And if the EDC is willing to do all the ones we need, the then I would definitely do number 4.
Okay, Beth?
I'm not a member of the community, I can, quite honestly. I thank you, Ray, for reminding us that we spent a lot of time looking at number 4 and talked with Ray Wardwell about it in 2019. And it looks great. It is expensive. I will offer that if you'd only like to buy 12 instead of 13, we will take the 2 in front of the village butcher and put those by the welcome center and only need 12.
What? And in fact, when we did these calculations, I assumed, because you had mentioned that in a prior meeting, Beth, so I had assumed we would only buy 12 of those double ones because they did match. And the same way we would do the same thing with with singles if we did those.
Yeah, and John, it would need to be, you said before 11 and a half. Well, that's we're using single designs.
Yeah, correct. So we need 20, it's 11 and a half locations. So we need, this is purchasing 23 of these, or 23 of the singles, or 12 of the Victor Stanleys, or 13 of the others.
Well, yeah, so it'd be 12 number 4s if we wanted to complete
Correct.
everything. Yes.
Correct, and that's the extra. Okay, so EDC members, then what's your? Let's, from an EDC point of view, let's talk about both design and also spending. Stuart made the suggestion that we just sort of get this over with and complete the project. Joe, why don't you start out, and then the rest of us. Joe, and then Patrick as well.
Well, we started on this project a few years ago, and the reason was because everybody agreed that the existing trash cans just looked horrible. More than functionality, they were just ugly, and people were just tired of looking at them. And that's what the springboard was. And I'm of the opinion that in that vein, anything would be an improvement. Now, if we get to the cost factor, I posed the question I posed last night, and that question is, does 6 pickups or 7 pickups once a week cost as much as 12 pickups twice a week? And if the cost is the same and the job accomplished is the same, then I would not have a problem. But depending on those 2 factors, I would not have a problem with considering less locations if necessary. That's my opinion.
Okay. All right, I'm going to keep going around for the EDC. Ray, I know you've got your hand up, but let me just get the EDC members and then we'll come back to Patrick. You would raise your hand.
I think we should get this one and done, and buy whatever we need, get it done. It's kind of silly that we spent 2 years on trash cans.
Well, 15 months of that was COVID. So, I mean, we were.
Okay. But even in any case, I think we need to get this done and get the trash cans replaced. And I would vote for number 4 as well. I think if we're gonna, we're trying to be green, and I think those are much more attractive than the plastic ones. And I would be concerned, plastic tends to discolor. So if we're looking for beauty as well as functionality, then I think the number 4 is the right one to go. And I'm to this day still amazed at how much trash cans cost. I've had to buy them here at the motel, and they're crazy priced. But if we think the longevity is going to be good, number 4, and let's just buy them all and get it done.
Larry?
Yeah, I don't remember seeing 1A before. Is that, that must come in other colors. It must come in the black.
Yeah, it
and
comes in
gold.
black. This was a last minute addition because Ray suggested we just show, because it's slightly different than one. But yes, no, this is, it definitely comes in other colors. We can get it. I'm
Right.
sure we can get it in green or any color we want.
Yeah, any color you want, blue.
Well, and we've got the state act now, because these are on public property, Act 148. So somebody was mentioning about whether or not we should have recycling in every location. You have to.
Yeah.
That is not optional anymore.
It's the one.
So I just wanted to make that point. When we talked to Ray Wardwell, he suggested that we could get by with a smaller capacity and just increasing the pickups to, I think it was, my note says 3 times a week in the summer and twice a week in the winter, which is once more than I gather we're doing right now. So that would be a cost issue. So those are just the other question was, I can't recall which of those designs you can actually see the trash bag. Ray, do you remember that?
You can, if they use black trash bags, you're not going to see anything.
On any of them?
If you look, you'll see them, but right now they're using clear trash bags, and there's nothing that'll hide the clear trash bags.
Okay. Well, yeah, I continue to be just amazed at how much these things cost, but I guess I would go with the number 4 as well.
Okay, Devin. Oh, we just lost the video, Devin. I don't know if that means he's, there you go. And you're muted too, sorry. Right, Devin, you're muted.
Hi, sorry about that. I'm leaning towards 1A. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, it's about $3,000 cheaper to get the 23 1As as opposed to the comparable number of 4s.
That's about right.
So yeah, I mean, that's like a 50% cost increase, more than 50% cost increase for a purely aesthetic choice.
No.
And I don't think that it's that much more beautiful. So I would just go with 1A.
No, that's not correct, actually. The just from a cost point of view, Darren, I don't know if you can see the slides, but it's only about it's $3. It's about a 12% higher cost.
Okay, I see that. Sorry.
That's the amount of extra we have to spend.
Oh, it's 50% additional funds.
Yeah, it's just the additional funds required is $3,000 higher. But
Okay.
Total funds is only.
It's still 23 compared to 26.
This is
I would still say
$24.
that it's not worth $3,000. I would rather use $3,700 or something else.
Okay.
So I would say that 1A is where I land.
Okay. And I would, I favor 4 because of the space and the quality. And I would also spend the extra money, which means that we would be asking for an extra $10,000, $11,000 roughly on top of it. So I think, Devin, despite your comment, I think there's a consensus on the design on number 4. Does anyone on the EDC disagree with that? I mean,
no, John, personally, I think if we're going to decide on something, I think number 4 is the way to go.
Okay. And I think 4 of us said that, and Devin is same company, just to say.
My only thought is, do we need as many as identified? That's the only issue I think about.
Okay.
But I definitely think 4 is the way to go.
So here, based on the conversation that we had yesterday with the town, sort of offline, I'm gonna then make a motion, which we can then debate, because we haven't talked as much about whether or not to request an extra $11,000. I'm going to make a motion as follows: that we request, and since we're requesting additional funds or recommending additional funds, we would need to have this approved by the select board. That we basically purchase 12 of the Victor Stanley doubles for a total cost of $26,760. I'm going to also suggest we add a 5% contingency because we don't actually have bids for shipping costs. So it would be 27, an extra, whatever 5% more of this is. And that we in parallel, asked the select board to approve the funding, but we also, over the next week, asked the village, Bill, and with the advice of the trustees, to analyze whether or not they think they can get by with fewer locations and greater pickup frequency, what Joe was asking about. And we don't, Bill, you said it before this meeting, we don't have quite all the information needed to do that.
Right.
Obviously, if you can do that, we would ask that you do that. And then you would tell us to only buy 11 or 10, whatever, or 9, whatever the number is. And that will leave with you the decision. And would you please analyze it carefully to, don't just waste our money. But you are the ones that have to run this, and they're your trash cans, and you have to make a decision as to what the right number is. So that will give us the option, Joe, of reducing the number, but only if the village operation, the town manager and the trustees are comfortable with that decision. Otherwise, we will allocate the full funding. And so that's the motion that I'm going to make. Now we can discuss whether we should do that.
Second the motion.
Okay, Joe has seconded it. All right, discussion. Patrick?
I don't think you can ever have too many trash cans. I think the idea of reducing them and having more pickups, there's nothing worse than being somewhere, especially somewhere like Woodstock, where we're trying to be beautiful, and not being able to find a trash can to put your trash in. So I don't know what the benefit would be of having less and having more pickups. I think it's gonna be a wash, I would think, and ultimately the value of the trash cans over a period of time would probably be less expensive than extra pickups.
Well, we're my just to clarify, not to argue one way or the other, but my motion is to have the town figure that out. And you're advising the town, in effect. I'm not.
Well, I guess.
I mean, the village. But
I'm not sure why the motion then, if we don't know what the facts are. Then I'm a little confused.
Well, okay. What I'm saying is that to move things along, since my sense is, just hearing a few comments about this, and maybe my own sense, is that allocating an additional $12,000 to get this done and to get it done right is not going to be too big of a concern. We might be able to do it for less. We might be able to do fewer locations. We don't know that tonight. Joe is asking a fair question, and Bill doesn't quite know the answer because we couldn't get all the data from Casella today. So therefore, what we're saying is, look, we will go ahead and propose $12,000. We'll wait 7 days to place the actual order. In those 7 days, Bill and Jeff, on representing the trustees, would you please figure out if you can, if it's a good idea to have fewer locations or not? We'll trust your word on it. We'll vote. You decide. Just tell us in a week how many units to order. You can order up to 12. And if they agree with you, Patrick, they'll order 12, and we've already funded it. If they order less, if they figure out that this is wrong, that they can actually collect more often and it's much cheaper, then that's their decision, and we will only order 11 or 10 or whatever they ask for. So
We can do that
tonight.
We can do that, John.
Yeah.
I would also, another analysis question is, what locations you're going to remove, and are they less full, or
that's what they're going to, what I'm basically, I'm trying to divide between the EDC and the village. It's like, that's their decision.
Okay, well, and if that's the case, I'd say I agree with the amount of money, and I personally think it should be more trash cans than less, but I'll let that be the town's decision, or the village's decision.
All right, other than questions or comments about the motion? I don't mean to force this down anyone's throat. Wait, I just trying to get a sense of a pulse of the community, of the group.
Would you repeat your motion, John?
Yeah, that we approve the purchase of 12 trash cans, which requires additional funding from the EDC to be approved by the select board of about $12,000, $11,500, something like that, about that, a little over 11,000, for the purchase of 12 number 4 Victor Stanley doubles. And at the village, let us know in the next week whether or not they think they could make do with fewer. And we will order either 12 or fewer. We will approve 12. And if they ask us for fewer, then we'll order the fewer number, and we'll place the order in a week. So to give them time to finish their analysis. So what we're voting on is to buy 12 with a side request that the village might choose to ask for fewer.
Can you just say up to 12?
Yeah, up to 12, right. We will buy, right, exactly. We're approving up to 12.
And I'm seeing 10,760 as additional funds.
Right, I said I wanted to add 5% of that because of the shipping
Oh.
costs are estimated, and I don't want to have to come back for
Okay.
another meeting,
Gotcha.
because we have $80 of shipping that we can't pay. Is there any other discussion about the motion? And again, if anyone feels pressured, don't vote this and we'll do another motion, but. Okay, but seeing none, all right, then, Mary, do we now just take a vote? Do I have to say someone have to close the vote or something? Or, I mean, no, okay. All right, all those in favor of the motion?
And I just have
Oh,
one
yeah,
question. So voting affirmative to this would approve the 12,000 for the number 4 trash cans?
Correct. It would approve up to, it would prove up to 11,500 roughly of the.
But it would
number
agree
4
on the design. It would determine, it would decide the design.
No, it doesn't. No, I think there was, other than you, the others all favored number 4. So we're decided on the design and we're voting on both the design and the amount and the money.
Okay. Okay.
So,
John?
yeah.
You have enough EDC people present. Do you have 4?
We have 5. We have a quorum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor, please say aye and just show me your hand so I can see. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Devin, I can't see your hand. Is it? Oh,
I'm
Devin
going to vote
voted.
against.
That's right. What? All right. All those in favor, fine. All those opposed? Devin is opposed. Okay. And any,
John, you actually have to take a voice roll call if,
if it's not unanimous, that's
it's not
correct. Okay.
unanimous.
So Joe,
Aye.
Patrick,
Aye.
Devin,
Nay.
Larry,
Aye.
John, aye. Okay, thanks, Sally. Thank you for that. Yeah, if we have a remote meeting and it's not unanimous, we have to take a roll call. Okay, so the motion passes 4-1. All right, we now have one additional issue to deal with.
John, the motion does not pass.
Oh, because we don't have a majority.
You don't have a majority, right?
Oh, I thought it was a majority of the people.
No,
Sorry.
it's not.
No.
I mean, this is, municipal votes are different.
Yep, a majority of, your quorum has to vote all in favor in this case.
Got it. Okay, I didn't realize that. All right, so let's ask Devin if that's a little unfair to put you
I
on the
don't want to
spot.
waste our time. I do think that 1A is a better and more frugal option. Really, the only difference being, I don't know, it takes up less space on the sidewalk. It doesn't seem like it's a big problem. I would rather go with 1A, but I understand that I am outnumbered, and to save us all some time in the evening, I will vote in favor.
Okay. So, all right, Devin, thanks. There's some future vote we'll owe you one in the other direction. Sally, do we need to take another vote then?
Why don't you just do that? So
Okay,
that
yes.
then we don't
All
have
right,
to
so
worry
then
about it.
let's just say, and again, let's just by show of hands first to see if it's unanimous. All those in favor of the motion, right, show your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any opposed? No. Okay, now the motion passes with a majority of the full members of 5. Devin, thank you for that. I think you made a good point and are also being reasonable, and we appreciate that. Okay, we have one last issue to discuss, which is additional. There are a couple of small, kind of in the spirit of getting things done. To Patrick's point, it took us 2 years, more than 2 years, probably, Joe, if you're counting. I'm sure you have the start date, you and Beth, in mind, to do trash cans. There's a few other things that we haven't completed and or we have noticed. And in the spirit of kind of, as people flood back to Woodstock, hopefully now is a really good time if we can spend a little bit of money. So I'm personally in favor of this. There are 3 specific things that we are proposing to do. We've talked about this one. There are 3 additional things to sort of clean up in the downtown. The first 2 are really completing work. What we did in the past is we didn't quite allocate quite enough money in order to finish these projects. There are 3 benches in the town, in the village, that are the old benches. You can immediately, they're just the crappy old benches with little metal at the end and so forth. One of them is a really nice location. It's the round bench that goes around the tree on the green. And the other 2 are the 2 old benches at Treeboo Park. And so the proposal here is to replace those 3 benches, which would cost about $3,300.
John, I think it's important for me to interject here.
Please, go ahead.
We placed the round bench on the green. That price was like almost a month ago. And if anybody is familiar with what's going on with the price of lumber now, that price is not accurate any longer. It's closer to $3,800. What the $3,800 for is for white oak to replace the wood that is currently on that bench. It's a 6-sided bench with metal stanchions. And to get a complete picture, what I'm proposing is I would be happy to take the old wooden parts of it off and get rid of it and sand down and spray paint the metal stanchions. Now we have 2 options to replace the wood with. And again, I checked with both Baker Lumber and Britain's, and it was advised to me, well, they had some stuff that would go for like, it would triple that number. It's some wood from Africa that would never, you couldn't destroy with a bazooka. But the most practical material to use would be white oak. And $3,800 would purchase the wood. We have 2 options in terms of application. One is Alex Osley is the one who installed the current wood, and to approach him and ask him, and I'm sure, if I ask him, he'll be more than happy to do it. But then you have to go through the town, you have to ask, if it's okay with Bill and select board and whoever. Another option, and I suggested it to Beth, I'm not sure how fast she got along with it, but the gentleman from the Rotary who replaced the roof on the old information shack, and we're going to paint it at some point, they may be able to do the installation without any, going through the town and any of that, jumping through any of that hope. But I just wanted to make that clear before we moved on.
Okay, thank you,
2
Joe.
benches at Tribal Park, as I understand it, they're not $650, and I think Beth can support this. And she looked at the invoice. I looked at the invoice, and it was like $400.
Okay.
Right. The other thing is that there is already one at Tribute Park. It looks like there is only one of the old rickety kind of benches there.
I think sorry, I got mixed up with what is the price, Beth?
I think it was 405. Was it, Beth?
It was, I think, $459.
With shipping? Okay.
No, well.
That was a while ago though, wasn't it?
Well,
yes, and we sent it off to, what I did is I pulled up, thank you to Sally, pulled up the invoice, sent it to Jack Rossi, who facilitated the last purchase. He was going to see if he could facilitate more.
Jack Rossi negotiated the price with the original benches we bought for the green and everywhere else.
Look, I'm going to suggest
he'd be happy to do the same for these.
Okay,
So,
I'm just going to suggest that in both the cases of the 2 benches, that we don't have a hard and fast. I thought that we had confirmed. I was under the impression that these were confirmed. I don't see. I think that just as a way of doing business,
right,
we should come back at the next EDC meeting and consider this proposal then, where we have firm quotes and we know exactly what it is. It's 3 weeks from now. I don't think.
the wood for the round bench is confirmed. I got that bid from Britain.
Right, but buying the wood without the ability to turn it into a bench, we don't really know how much money we're committing. I understand it's likely to be no more than 3,800 because the labor will be free, but I think it's incumbent upon us to to have all of that information ready and to say, this is what. it's gonna
John,
cost.
would you look at the chat regarding that? Because
Yes,
Todd Ullman made.
Yeah,
a
I'm sorry.
suggestion.
Yeah, so Todd is raising a very interesting proposal and a very generous one. He's asking whether or not a business can sponsor a bench or a trash can. Lots of towns do this. And he's proposing that his business would sponsor the benches and that Joe would put those together, would kind of do what Joe said he would do, which is a very generous offer. There's a policy question, which I think the EDC should consider. Are we comfortable with having a business with a small plaque, I presume, sponsor it? I think we already have a bench outside the post office with some type of sponsorship on it, if it's individual.
The Rotary Club.
The Rotary Club. So I guess we sort of have a precedent for that.
And the bench behind the town crier is dedicated to Tom Devereux.
Yeah,
That's right.
So there doesn't seem to. So if that's the case, then if Todd, if
John,
you're.
If I could just say something about the benches, those are teak, and the price was, I believe, back when we got the original ones, was a couple years ago, and I would be shocked if the price hasn't gone up dramatically.
It was 2019, July of 2019, and the 5-foot benches were $456, and the 4-foot benches were $409.
Yeah.
At
So,
that time.
right. So you're talking 2 years ago, and teak and the price of wood going sky high.
Right, well, I think
I wouldn't be a bit surprised based on what happened with the white oak.
Right.
That they're probably triple the price right now.
Well, I think.
Absolutely.
Right, but I think I think what I'm proposing then is this is a little bit too vague for the EDC to act tonight. However,
Yeah.
I have a member of the community who's proposing that his business sponsor this. My suggestion, therefore, is that Todd, if you, I think you can hear us, that you and Joe have a conversation as soon as possible. And Joe, if Todd his company is willing to sponsor these benches and you work out the price and the labor and so forth, then I think the EDC would be, I mean, I don't want to speak for everybody. I think we would all be very happy with that. That's a great outcome and it sets a great example for other future initiatives.
Sure, I think it's a great idea.
And then on the last point, there are 2 missing trees. Do we have I think a firm quote to replace those 2 trees?
From Cy Benoit, he said $1,000 a piece.
Yeah, and Cy has just done the work. I think we can trust that, his pricing and so forth. He's just finished the work or almost finished the work at Teagle's Landing.
But John, just one thing to add to that. We have a tree warden in the village, Don Wheeler, and I would want him to be consulted about the choice of the trees that anyone who installs them would be putting in there.
Okay, then if that's the case, then let's postpone that until the next meeting. And between now and then, we will coordinate that with him. Is that okay with you, Joe?
Yeah, sure.
I just feel like we should have,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
concrete proposals here.
Yep.
Okay. So we're not going to approve any of this additional spending, although we are going to achieve, we hope, Todd, we hope with Todd's support, and Mad Old Nut is the company, we hope that we can get that done, which is great. So I think that wraps it up. Is there any other comments anyone would like to make?
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
I am so happy that we don't have to talk about trash cans. We have talked about trash cans for 4 years, at least. Woohoo!
We can cross one item off the list.
Exactly.
Okay, terrific. Any other comments?
Yeah, John?
Yeah.
At some point, we might want to initiate a conversation about what the EDC spends on what and versus what like the village spends on. I'm not clear. I'm fairly new to the board, but I'm not clear where that distinction is. I know we've been told like, well, we aren't going to do sidewalks because that's infrastructure.
Well, you haven't been told that. I've said that many times. It's just my personal opinion. I think sorry, that's a topic for a future meeting. Let's put that on the agenda for the next discussion, for the next meeting. It's a very valid topic, I think.
Well, maybe everybody else understands it. I'm not.
No.
Larry, I'm new. I'm with you. I think that's a great discussion to have.
Okay. Any other comments? No, all right, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Joe
Second,
moves, Patrick seconds, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Kevin, are you in favor? Phew. All right, thank you. Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned at 6:59. We made it in under 1 hour. Jeff, I hope that was fast enough for you. All right, take care. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.